costumes. It's been very fun, but maybe you're all in your costumes to a certain extent. We're really glad to have you all here on this celebrative day. And first of all, some announcements. Donna, of course, I didn't even notice him. That's what we're laughing about. Because I thought it was a her. It's great. I love it. Coming out day. Well, by way of announcements, don't forget that next Saturday night is the time change. And so it'll be a joke on you if you're here early, but that would be fun. If you're here early, you can help us set up. But time change next Saturday night. And then the other announcement is that we're so blessed to have, thanks to Annalisa introducing me to the idea of having them come, but Ganga, Tara, and Dorje. They're going to be here tonight at the Headwaters, where they're showing a movie. And I guess I will have you say it right now. Yeah, talk a little bit about what you're presenting tonight, to whet everybody's appetite for it. You can all.
Hello, everyone. Wonderful to be here. We're on a tour of the United States. Tara and I have been living in India for the past 7 years, and Dorje's been living in the jungle of Nepal in a tent for the last 2.5 years. And he went to investigate the young man who the media called the Buddha Boy. You may have heard of him. The Discovery Channel did a documentary about him called The Boy with Divine Powers. The Discovery Channel was interested in him because it was reported that he sat under a tree in Nepal meditating for 10 months without eating, drinking, or sleeping, just seated motionless for 10 straight months. So the Discovery Channel did a documentary, and Tara and I saw it about 7 years ago. After he sat under that one tree for 10 months, he moved to another tree, and he sat for 5 more years under that tree without eating, drinking, or sleeping. So this created quite a stir in the world. Many people believed that he might be the next Buddha. And that's why they called him the Buddha Boy. And so Tara and I have been interested in him for a number of years. And then Dorje, just a few months ago, returned from Nepal and told us the stories of what he experienced in the jungle with the young boy. And so we said to Dorje, let's go on tour and spread the message of seeds of loving kindness. That is his teaching, loving kindness. It's very simple. Simply that we must awaken in the hearts of every living being on earth loving kindness. So we'll be speaking tonight at Headwaters at 7 o'clock. You're all invited. It's free. Voluntary donations are gratefully accepted, love offerings, but it is free. And you're all invited. And we look forward to seeing you there. So, namaste.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Doing a
Thank
tour.
you for inviting us.
You might be wondering what these little tabs are. They're sort of a trickster thing, because when you stand up, they're going to stick to you. No, they're not for that. They're for a part in the ritual later on, so just keep track of them and move them to the side so they don't stick to you in the wrong place. So we'll be using these in a little while.
Norma?
Yes.
I was wanting to see if anybody would raise their hand now who could volunteer this evening at 6:30 to help set up chairs and or at the end to take them down. Is there anyone willing to come and help me?
6:30, be there to help set up chairs.
Great, thank you. 6:30.
Please come.
4th and C.
4 people.
4th and
It's on
C.
4th Street across from the Unitarian Church. Please, can some people come? Do any of you know if you're coming?
Yeah, I've got a couple of.
Okay. Okay, thank you. All right. We're going to begin to enter into our ritual space now, but just to set a theme a little bit, we're we're here right before Halloween, right before what the Christian world has named All Saints Day, All Souls Day, and then the Day of the Dead, as it's called in Latin American countries. So it's a very auspicious time when the veil between the worlds is thin, as we say, and it's also called in Celtic celebrations, it's spelled S-A-M-H-A-I-N, but it's called Samhain. Samhain, that's how you say it, Samhain. Ancient Gaelic word, which means summer's end. Summer's end. And so it was a harvest celebration when all the last fruits of the labors were brought in, and big celebrations we had, usually around bonfires. But also in Celtic homes, they would leave windows open because they believed that it was a time when the spirits were available because the veils were thin, and so they'd leave a window open, and they would sometimes set an extra place at the table or leave food on the doorstep, believing that the spirits of one's own family would be coming, but also there might be spirits that didn't have families, so you wanted to be hospitable to them too. So they weren't afraid of the spirits coming and going. It was a time when they welcomed that, and they taught their children to welcome the sensitivities to the other world. It wasn't a fearful time. And so on that note, I'd like to call up any children that are here. Trees, is little Nova here? He's somewhere underneath them.
5 boys.
Oh, good, all the boys are here. Great.
Wow.
Well, thanks for being here, all of you guys. We want to wish you a happy Halloween. 6, and I just wanted to ask each of you if you know what you're going to wear for your costume yet. You know? Okay, let's tell. Do you know what you're going to wear yet? A joker. Whoa. Scream. It's going to be Scream. A pirate. Zombie skeleton. Football player. And Nova, what are you going to be for Halloween?
Shooting star.
A shooting star? You know? Maybe he doesn't know yet. Well, the idea about costumes is that we're hiding and dressing up and kind of acting spooky in some ways, but the whole idea is that it's about laughing at ourselves and laughing at other people and not being afraid of what we're usually maybe afraid of. You know, so it's a way of getting over our fears. And so hopefully that's what will happen for you on Halloween. You'll have a lot of laughs. And I just wanted to tell you a little story about when I was 9 years old. How old are you guys? Is anybody 9? 7? 10? So it was like in between you two. And I dressed up like a mummy. I didn't want anybody to know me, so I wrapped my whole body in sheets, you know. And guess what? The only thing showing was one eye. And I went up to the doors and trick-or-treated, and I knocked, and I just hoped that nobody knew me. And they would say, "Hi, Norma." Sometimes you just can't hide. But I hope you guys have a really fun time in your Sunday school class today. And see, the little bloody knife. See, that's a good example of trying to not be afraid of things we typically be afraid of, you know. Yeah. So that's a good example, yeah. So we just know that you guys have a lot of light inside of you. And that's what we say every week to you. You've got a lot of light inside of you. So if any dark corners come, or like little dark areas that you're afraid of when you're walking around home, remember that you are shining a light. You are a bright light wherever you go. And that's what makes you not afraid, because we say to you, the Christ light is in you. So let's us adults rub our hands together and raise our chi, and we say, we love you, we appreciate you, and we behold this Christ light shining in you. So shine it out wherever, and then the baby's here. Hi, sweetie. What are you going to be for Halloween? A baby. We saw the baby before she came out of hiding. Thanks for being here, Justin. And what's the baby's name? Anjali, like an angel. Anjali. Divine gift. So we bless the young ones in our midst, and you can go out with your teacher, Patrice, now, and have a great time. Yeah, isn't that a pretty house? Yeah. You're going to do some fun things out there to do with Halloween, too, okay? Thanks for being here. It's Dad. You could come back in later and dance with us. He likes to be with the big people. So now, let's deepen into our sacred space together. And bring yourselves present by realizing that it is a time when we acknowledge that we are the old ones. We've been here many times. And we are the new ones. And we're the same ones, but we're different than before. So you may have a certain identity on this time, but it's a different identity than you had on last time. A different mask, let's say, a different costume. So this is a time when we acknowledge that we are ancient and we are eternal, and that we move through time. And we're also drawing forth the acknowledgement of our ancestors in this song. So begin to settle into the veil being thin between the worlds, and invite in a open-hearted way, invite the ancestral spirits, invite all of who you are as we deepen.
We are the old ones and we are the new ones. We are the same ones, different than before. We are the old ones and we are the new ones. And we are the same ones, different than before. We are the old ones and we are the new ones.
part here, I'd like you to literally welcome the ancestral beings by having a reprise of "We Are the Old Ones" and "We Are the New Ones," instead of later, with the violin. And the violin is such a hauntingly invoking music. And so in some years I've asked you to bring pictures of your ancestors. And what has happened with that is lots of people left them behind and they didn't know who they belonged to. So I decided not to ask you to bring pictures, but just to bring pictures in your mind right now of your ancestors. And while we're doing the song, let's stand and do it if you're able. You can remain seated if you need to. And really have a sense of invoking the presence of our ancestral beings and ancestral deities too. So you could call forth light them either by lighting them on the other candles, or there's also a lighter here, and then just lay them back down. Okay, here we go. Ancestors. This is an ancestral libation from the African tradition. After each line that I say, you all say with me afterwards, Ashe. Say that with me, Ashe. Ashe. So, all of our ancestors of antiquity who developed great knowledge and gave civilization to our world. Your will to be lives in me. Ashe. All our ancestors who are fortunate to be buried on the soil of their homeland. And then you say with me, your will to be lives in me, Ashe. Your will to be lives in me, Ashe. To all our ancestors who were lost and killed during the voyage of the Middle Passage and the harrowing journeys of all immigrant ancestors to this land. Your will to be lives in me, Ashe. All our ancestors who suffered the cruelty of the horrible institutions of slavery, racism, sexism, homophobia, physical and emotional abuse, segregation, and oppression of all kinds. Your will to be lives in me. Ashe. We say thank you, great ancestors, for the precious gift of your blood, sweet to our hearts. Your tears who fought for freedom, justice, and equality. Your will to be lives in me. Ashe. Any more candle lightings can happen. Keep coming. We promise, as a descendant and benefactor of your life, to uphold truth without fear and to never forget you and your sacrifices as we teach ourselves and our children to honor and respect you. To our ancestors, in your honor, we say, your will to be lives in me. Ashe. We promise to assume the responsibility in continuing on the path of progress and build upon the foundations that you have laid for us. Your will to live, your will to be lives in me. Ashe. Promise to remove the fear, ignorance, shame, and self-hatred of our history and reclaim the cultural heritage and consciousness of spiritual oneness. Your will to be lives in me. Ashe. We promise to continue to build a new world for our children and grandchildren based on our spiritual principles and value for all life. Your will to live lives in me. Ashe. And now to all the spirits of our individual families that we're invoking here, known and unknown by name, and whom we silently remember in our hearts, we praise and honor all who have come before us. And we say together, your will to be lives in me. Ashe. May your spirit be filled with light and progress during these holy days, and may the light of our ancestors guide us through any fear and ignorance in our times. Thank you, great Creator. Thank you for coming to us through the spirit of our ancestors on this holy occasion. May your will to be live in me. So thankful to have this kind of occasion together, because in our Western culture, lots of times with the scientific progress and so forth, these types of realities are not as vivid. When I've traveled around the world to different places, for example in Japan, in South America, people there hold ceremonies quite frequently to connect with their ancestors. I was privileged to experience the Espiritu culture in Brazil, where they gather weekly, and 12 people invoke the ancestors of all of the other people present there, and the ancestors speak to them. I want to give you a short reading from one of the scientists of our culture, Albert Einstein, and what he came to say about these other dimensions, these mystical worlds, after following the route of science all the way through to quantum physics. He said, "The most beautiful and profound emotion we can experience is the sensation of the mystical. It is the sower of all true science. He to whom this emotion is a stranger, who can no longer wonder and stand wrapped in awe, is as good as dead. To know that what is impenetrable to us really exists, manifesting itself as the highest wisdom and the most radiant beauty, which our dull faculties can comprehend only in their most primitive forms. This knowledge, this feeling, must be the center of every true spirituality." We thank you, Albert Einstein, for keeping on, coming all the way through. We're going to have another wonderful song now that comes from the Celtic tradition. And it's a beckoning of us to be the ones that keep on keeping on. And what is the title of it, Heather?
Well, I have to say it's called Rise and Fall, and it doesn't technically come from the Celtic tradition. It came from me.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, but my soul feels very Celtic, so you can say it in a way that it came from
Do
me.
you have some Celtic blood in it?
I don't know. Maybe a little.
Well, I think all of us in this room probably do, except for Dorothy. I don't know, because Celtic was all throughout Europe. It was all of the European cultures for hundreds and hundreds of years. So, through Celtic, Heather. Georgie's mother's British, so he does too. Okay.
I know there's English in my blood. Maybe Irish somewhere. You'll get to sing along for part of this too. who you are. Heed the call, let the rest go. One more time. Rise and fall into who you are. Heed the call, let the rest go, and become the rise and fall. We sing the song and hear the soul's direction. Each voice belongs to the changing melodies. It need not be long, for the moment can contain eternity. Listen to the tune and become the rise and fall. Here we go. La 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 la. La 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 we move along and sway in pure elation. Each step belongs to the changing rhythm and beat. It need not be wrong, for the dance is ever turning, bending. Listen to the tune and become the rising fall. Hey, one more time. Rise and fall, rise and fall into who you are. Heed the call, let the rest go. Rise and fall into who you are. Heed the call, let the rest go. Become the rise and fall. La 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 la. You wanna stand? La 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 la
This song that I created and you all just so beautifully sang is a call to us to be the ones that are moving along and helping the rise and fall to continue to go on. The rise and fall. In the autumn, of course, we have the leaves that are beckoners. They're the ones that are calling out to us, don't be afraid. Let it all go. Just fall. Look at the beauty that we've seen around us. My daughter told me that she discovered that the green is always just covering over the color that's really there all the time underneath. And that when the right conditions come and the colors are invoked, they shine forth through the leaves. And that taught me a good lesson about our lives. You know, we can perceive things a certain way, but then certain conditions come, and the brightness of our souls flares forth. And then we give over to letting go and not being attached to that. So we're going to be talking about how you can be the rise and fall today. And by way of getting us into that, maybe somebody could get me a glass of water. I thought it would be very appropriate, since we have our Buddhist-oriented guests, or Hindu, maybe you are Buddhist.
Universal.
Universal. We are universal too. As you can tell, we are going to invoke this sense of letting go and our ability to let go through chanting the Heart Sutra together. If you were in a Buddhist temple, you'd be handed a copy of the Heart Sutra, but I didn't want to use all that paper and hand it out to you, so I'm going to do a line and then have you repeat after me. Thank you so much. And it's addressed to the Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara, and that's the Tibetan name for who became Kuan Yin. So did you know that the Heart Sutra is really addressed to Kuan Yin, for the mother aspect of the divine? So I'm going to chant a line, and then to the best of your ability, repeat it after me, and do it. And we're going to do it in this true Buddhist way of like using a low voice and sounding like Buddhists. Okay? When Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara practiced the deep prajna paramita, you don't have to say that part. She saw that the 5 skandhas were empty. You can say that. She saw that the 5 skandhas were empty. Thus she overcame all ills and suffering. Thus she overcame all ills and suffering. O Shariputra, O Shariputra, form does not differ from the void. Form does not differ from the void. And the void does not differ from form. And the void does not differ from form. Form is the void. Form is the void. And the void is form. And the void is form. You could also say emptiness for this. This translation uses the void, but emptiness. The same is true for feelings, conceptions, impulses, and consciousness. The same is true for feelings, conceptions, impulses, and consciousness. They are all empty. They are all empty. O Shariputra, the characteristics of emptiness are not created. The characteristics of emptiness are not created, not annihilated, not impure, not pure, not increasing, not decreasing. Therefore, in the emptiness, there are no forms and no feelings. Therefore, in the emptiness, there are no forms and no feelings, no conceptions, no impulses, no consciousness. No conceptions, no impulses, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body or mind. No body or mind. There is no form. No sound, no smell, no taste, no touch. No sound, no smell, no taste, no touch. No idea. No I elements. Until we come to no elements of consciousness. Until we come to no elements of consciousness. No ignorance and also no ending of ignorance. No ignorance and also no ending of ignorance. Until we come to no old age and no death. Until we come to no old age and no death. And no ending of old age and death. And no ending of old age and death. Also, there is no truth in suffering. Also, there is no truth in suffering. There is no wisdom and there is no attainment of wisdom. There is no wisdom and there is no attainment of wisdom, because there is nothing to be attained, O Bodhisattva. Because there is nothing to be attained, O Bodhisattva. Relying on prajna paramita, there is no obstruction in your heart. There is no obstruction in your heart. Because there is no obstruction, there is no fear. Because there is no obstruction, there is no fear. And you pass far beyond all confused imagination. And you pass far beyond all confused imagination, and you reach ultimate nirvana. All Buddhas in the past, present, and future have attained this supreme enlightenment. All Buddhas in the past, present, and future have attained this supreme enlightenment. Therefore we know that the prajna paramita is a great magic. Therefore we know that the prajna paramita is a great magic. The prajna paramita is the Heart Sutra. That's what it is. That, you don't have to say that, but I'm just telling you that when you're saying prajna paramita, it is the Heart Sutra. So therefore we know that the prajna paramita is a great mantra of illumination. Therefore we know that the prajna paramita is a great mantra of illumination. It is the supreme mantra. The unequaled mantra. Which can truly wipe away all suffering without fail. Therefore, she uttered the Prajnaparamitra Sutra by saying, Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgati, Bodhisattva. Let's say it together. Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisvaha. That's how they say it. Bodhisvaha. That Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, do you know what that means? Some of you do. Let go beyond, all the way to the other shore. All the way. So that's what we're going to be exploring. What is that? All the way to the other shore. I wanted to mention, as we honor the ancestors and all the ones you called forth, that many of our beloveds have died this year, gone from our midst. Is Paul, gone from our midst is Sipko. Can you think of any others who have been sitting here with you through the years who passed on this year? Or maybe some that haven't been here but have passed on from your life this year. Tony, yes, very important to remember Tony. What's his? Doris. Yes.
Eric Berglund.
Who?
Eric Berglund.
Eric.
Amora Kuan Yin.
And who?
Amora Kuan Yin.
Amora Kuan Yin. So we just honor those that were here with us yesterday and are now on the other side. It makes us, because we've been sitting next to them. Alma told me she sat next to Tony in the Peace Choir just a few days before he passed over. So we honor you, those that have recently gone, and we reach out to you and let you know that we remember you. Your lives are not in vain, because we take on this call to be the ones who keep turning the great wheel of karma and bringing the rise and the fall over and over again. I especially wanted to speak out about Sipko. He wrote a book during his dying process with leukemia called Laughing with Leukemia. And it's a great book if you want to get it from Carolyn. I wish Carolyn Schaefer was here today, but she's away in the Bay Area with her husband. Laughing with Leukemia. And it's all about having this attitude of not being afraid of death. And he said he would be laughing and laughing up until his last day, and indeed he was. It's amazing. It was an amazing experience to be with him. So we just honor that our spirituality allows us to do that, to be with that sense of no fear when facing into death. So we honor you, those saints that have gone before. Speaking of laughing and laughing, there's a joke I'd like to share with you. So maybe some of you have heard this before, but I think it's really appropriate today for our topic of letting go. It's about a small plane that was flying. There were 5 passengers on it, and it developed engine trouble. And the pilot comes back into the passenger area, throws open the door, the wind rushes in, and he says, "The plane's going down. I have my parachute here, but the bad news is that there are 5 of you, and there are only 4 more parachutes. Goodbye. Thank you for flying with us." He jumps out the door. Almost immediately, a woman jumps up and says, "I'm a prominent brain surgeon. My patients are relying on me, and I must survive." So she grabs one of the parachutes, and she jumps out the door. And then a moment later, one of the men runs forward, and he grabs another parachute and says, "I'm an important lawyer. My firm does many important things in the world, and I'm needed in the world." So he jumps out. Then another man heads for the door saying, "I am the smartest man in the world. My IQ is so high that I won't even name it rather than embarrass you, but it's imperative that I survive." And he grabs a parachute and jumps out the door. Then there are 2 passengers left, a teenage boy and an elderly clergyman. And the old man says, "My son, I have had a long, good life, and and you have your whole life ahead of you. So here, take the last parachute and save your life. And the young man responded, thank you very much, sir. But there's no need to worry. There are still 2 parachutes, because the smartest man that ever lived just jumped out of the plane with my backpack. The whole joke makes us laugh at ourselves, really, because we want to stay alive. We do. And that's our human nature. We have to want to stay alive, you know. And sometimes we do a lot of things to protect ourselves that we're not actually even proud of, to try to stay alive, you know, to try to be safe and warm and successful and have good people around us. We want to save our lives. But in Mark 8:31, Jesus was being asked by his disciples about the purpose of his life. And he said a hard thing back to them. He said, you know, if you want to follow me, for those who want to save their life, forget it. You've got to lose your life. And those who lose their lives for my sake will save them. Wow, so that's a great paradox that's at the root of a lot of our spiritualities. You can hear that in the Heart Sutra. Unfortunately, much of Christian teaching began to be built upon making people be afraid so that they would want to save their lives and go to heaven. And so you hear a lot about, are you saved? Are you saved? But that's gotten warped. It's not really what Jesus taught. He didn't go around asking people, are you saved? Crazy thing was, he said things like, you cannot serve God and money at the same time, or self-gain. He said, forget yourself. Take up your cross and follow me. Forget yourself and die. Wow, what did that mean? Well, there's a trail throughout the Hebrew and Christian texts, if you have the eyes to see it, that's all about forgetting yourself and receiving a call from God. Like, for example, way back in Genesis, there was Abram and Sarai, and they received a call from God. You know that story. They were in their 80s, and they received this crazy call that they were going to have a baby, and they had to believe that and go forth. And when they did, they were renamed. So in other words, their old identity was dropped, and they were named Abraham and Sarah. And Abram means father, but Abraham means great father, father of many. And Sarah means mother of kings. So what's in this new name business in many spiritualities? Others in the Bible, for example, Jacob, after he wrestled with God, with the angel, he left limping and got the name Jacob. And then, you know, Saul, who was persecuting the early Christians, he got the new name of Paul. And then Simon, the follower of Jesus, was given the name by Jesus of Peter, the rock upon which I'll build my new community. So another example is one of my favorite books by Ursula Le Guin, Wizard of Earthsea. Have any of you read that? Oh, it's a great book. And then there, the wizards have power over things and creatures by using their true names. And their true names are hidden and not revealed. It's sort of like Halloween. Their true names are hidden behind disguises. And so the wizard gains power with them, like with dragons even, by discovering their true name. But the wizard himself never reveals his true name, and that's how he stays a wizard. So the true name of this wizard was Ged, G-E-D. He's the hero, but he was known as Sparrowhawk. And he never would say the name Ged aloud. So maybe you were given a new name at some point along the way, like from Amma, I don't know, or from, you know, somebody that you followed, or maybe you gave yourself a new name. Maybe when you were baptized as a baby, or maybe when you had a bar mitzvah, you got a new name. So the new name thing is about gathering of power to move on to a next level of who you are and of your empowerment. At the very beginning of Jesus' ministry, he had to decide who he was, what his identity would be, and he received this big temptation. Maybe you've had some big temptations in your life about who you would be. He had those big temptations of, you know, the devil coming to him and saying, here, turn this stone into bread, or jump off this high building and you'll still be alive, or follow me and you'll have all the power in the world. lots of temptations can come along, and we have these chances of self-aggrandizement. There's a book written by a Jungian therapist called, it's called The Shadow of, not self-importance, but The Shadow of, oh no, I can't think of it, but it's like about self-aggrandizement, and it's all about the American shadow. It says that it's the shadow of America, is the shadow of self-aggrandizement, or thinking that we're so much better than everyone else. So how do we get beyond this self-preservation? Jesus did. He pointed to a lot of ways to do that, and he tried to do it in stories because our minds put up a lot of blocks to this idea that we can actually forsake our lives and somehow really find them. So he pointed to the lilies of the field. Like in Ashland this week, he might have pointed to the colorful leaves and the trees. And he said, they don't spin or weave, and yet look how glorious they are. And your Heavenly Father cares about you even more than the leaves and the trees. So we're asked to radically trust God and let go of fear in our search for security and success. It's like jumping. It's like leaping, not just clinging on, but leaping into the great mystery. Much of the evil in the world originates with fear and urges people to protect themselves. Prejudice, war, fences along the borders, healthcare fights, right-wing militias, protecting our bank accounts. Fear, fear, fear. Hitler built his Third Reich on fear, and some are trying to build up something kind of like that here now. People can get so afraid of letting go, and then they're manipulated. So we need to understand this natural truth of letting go, perhaps more now than ever. It's really crucial for our times. The term letting go has become a catchword in Buddhist circles. It's true that letting go is crucial for arriving at self-realization or inner freedom. But you have to understand how to let go. So I wanted to talk to you today about what is it that you're letting go of? What is it really about to let go? Well, Buddhism says you're letting go of attachment. You're letting go of clinging. And what that means is you're letting go of this motivating desire behind whatever you're doing. Okay? This motivating desire behind whatever you're doing. It may be a desire to succeed, or to be perfect, or to control others, or to glorify yourself. It doesn't matter what it is specifically. What matters is that it's about this desire that's behind your act to preserve this ego identity. So to let go is to let go of clinging to desire. And not to necessarily these particular actions, but to the desire. It's a deeper thing. So this requires stopping and examining what your emotions are, because your emotions give you a clue to your desires. So when you stop and look at your action, look behind it. Okay, are you with me? When you're looking and examining your actions of being controlling, for example, then try to look behind it. And what are you desiring to do right here? What are you desiring to protect? When you see that, you'll acknowledge to yourself that you are clinging to something. So it's difficult to catch ourselves clinging because we've been so conditioned since we're very little to relate everything to ourselves. As soon as we learn to recognize people and things, we're taught how to relate them as me, mine, I. And so my mom, my dad, my toy, my house, my money. And as we grow up, we're taught how to relate ideas and concepts to ourselves too. So we have to learn that we can function. We learn that we can function in society by claiming all of us as me and mine. This is my identity, my PhD, my big job, my nice car, this is my status in society. But at the same time, this process slowly and unconsciously creates a concept of this solidified selfhood, and we build up what all different traditions call the ego. Or in Buddhism, it's called the self, with a small s. This buildup is strengthened by our societies. We learn to compete, to achieve, to accumulate. In other words, we're totally trained to possess and to cling. You agree with me? We're trained for this, aren't we? By our educational institutions, our work, So much is based on training us to cling. So by the time we grow up, the concept of the ego self has become so real that it's difficult to tell what is illusion and what's reality. It's difficult to realize that I and mine are temporary, relative, changeable. The same is true of all that is related to I and mine. Our cars, our houses, our educations, our jobs, they're all temporary. So Buddhism talks about impermanence, and we struggle to keep them permanent, and we cling to them. The desire to try to keep everything permanent is what makes it difficult to learn to let go. We may have trouble accepting this Buddhist idea of self as an illusion because we've become so used to functioning in this I and mine, so used to thinking of our constructed self as what is real. The I and mine are illusions. They survive only by clinging to illusions and making it all seem real through our minds. So we cling to all kinds of mental possessions like our power, our wealth, our status, our identity of whatever kinds, But isn't it radical to realize that it's all really an illusion? It's okay, don't be afraid. Because as we realize this, then we're letting go of what blocks us to be with our real selves, with a capital S. Our real selves are one. There's only one of us here. We're one with all that is. We're not separate. So these false selves keep us all separate, very, very separated, and very lonely and alone. And we go into all sorts of difficult ways of protecting ourselves. In the 12 steps, it's called character defects that we develop. In my work with Journey to Completion, I call it our shadows. Our shadows protect us, and try to keep our I and our mind intact. So we do a lot to protect ourselves. We may feel that if we let go of it, that we're going to lose our identity. How can I exist if I let go of everything? Won't I become cold and unfeeling? It sounds kind of scary. Would we just be living in a vacuum? Well, I was thinking about all of this in the early 90s because I was deep into Buddhist practice and was working with Thich Nhat Hanh. And I was thinking, well, maybe when we let go of ourselves, we just become like the void. It's like cold and empty, and it's just the void. That's what happens when we die, I thought. Then Spirit showed me through having a near-death experience that it's really quite the opposite. So I got to be one of those that goes to the other side for a while. And I experienced the love beyond love beyond love. It's hard to describe as you read it in other people's accounts of it. It's this tremendous love, tremendous togetherness, tremendous oneness that's beyond what we can hardly even imagine here because of this veil of separation and delusion. So, no, the universe out there is full of love and connection and oneness. So you have to lose what's merely an illusion. You have to empty the mind of this illusion of form. That's what the Heart Sutra is all about. We've got to let go of that. And when we do, the Buddha taught that then we find the 4 virtues. They start to unfold in us. The more we let go, the more we feel and learn about unconditional love, compassion, sympathetic joy, joy in the joy of others, and equanimity. Those 4 things are called the 4 virtues. And these virtues start to manifest themselves in our lives as concern for other humans and sensitivity to others. Compassion. Compassion flows out of us. And so the 2 major words in Buddhism are wisdom and compassion. So you attain this wisdom of letting go of this concept of yourself, and then you have great compassion. This is why letting go is not losing anything, really, but your illusory ego. So you're actually uncovering a great treasure when you let go. Yourself with a capital S. It's the one infinite, the one truth, the one love. Just as a little illustration of this, there's a story about Mohandas Gandhi, and it's in this book called Lead, Kindly Light by Vincent Sheehan, who was a journalist who spent some days with Gandhi that turned out to be just 3 days before he died. They didn't know he was going to die, of course, because it happened so suddenly. But this man was with him the 3 days before he died. And he said that he received 2 gifts from Gandhi. That Gandhi had a great belief in the power of nonviolence. We know this. But the second and most important, he said, was that Gandhi showed him that he had this unshakable faith in the unseen realms. That's why he could do everything that he did. He called it truth. He didn't call it God, but he called it truth. And he said that he had dedicated his whole life to discovering truth. And you know how he let go of all his clothing, just wore a loincloth. He let go of everything to discover this right way to live, right way to eat, right way to dress, and to bring change into society, to help people. So all this he went through to discover his true self, with a capital T and a capital S. And because he did this, the people of India changed his name. They changed his name from Mohandas Gandhi to Mahatma Gandhi. Do you know what Mahatma means? Great soul. And do you know that in his life he never let anybody call him Mahatmas? Mahatmas instead of Mahanda. Mahatmas means the great soul. They called him that, but he didn't want to hear it because he was so humble. He didn't want to attach to it. So what it's really all about, this letting go, is this letting go of our false identities. And you see it in wisdom teachers in all traditions, that they're having this faith in this truth or this higher power, and it lets them let go. Jesus, Gandhi, St. John of the Cross, St. Francis of Assisi, Leo Tolstoy, Buddha, Kuan Yin, Julian of Norwich, Hildegard of Bingen, Oscar Romero, Howard Thurman, Martin Luther King, they all sought to diminish the self and claim a new identity as connected to all things, this identity of oneness, of unitive thinking with the larger self, the true self, which is God. They all emphasize this selfless wisdom and compassion. I got to hear Maya Angelou speak once in the Bay Area, and she was saying over and over to us, you may have hard lives, you may go through lots of things. I did. She says she was sexually abused and had a whole lot of hard things happen to her, but she said, keep on keeping on. Let go. Keep on letting go of everything you have to see what the end will be. Gate, gate, parasangate. Keep on letting go to see what the end will be. And years later, after I heard her speak, what was one of her final achievements? She spoke for the inauguration, one of her poems, on Inauguration Day for the President. So you never know what your end will be. While you're still in this body, how much letting go can you do? How many identities can you shed so that you get all the way through to your true self? There is no heart of darkness deep enough that can stop you from going on to who you really are. And the Great Mother, the one who's spoken about in the Heart Sutra, will carry us. Like we sang in that song, Mother, carry me. She will carry you all the way through, all the way through. Call out to her. You will be carried all the way through to the other shore. Say with me, Gate, Gate, Parasangate, Bodhisvaha. I greet you, Bodhisattvas. May we go all the way. Following the oaks. And so in this song, Heather's going to sing it for us a bit, and then there's a part in which you can come up here and sing a little song. And I truly invite those of you who don't usually do this, not those of you who think you have a great voice, although you can come too, but we won't tell what the difference is, right? But it's an opportunity just for a few minutes to play and have fun with letting go. Fun with letting go of your ego. We love you. We appreciate you. We see the light in you, so you don't have to be afraid of an ego thing. Just come and sing a little song, sing a little tune, something that you want to sing out into the world. So, Heather.
Speaking of letting go, part of identity, trying things that are new and in a moment, right? I believe that part of the come oak part, this is the words of the chorus, come oak of the two cries, come hand of fourfold muse. It was originally fourfold music. Come summer, come winter, voice of harp, bellows, and flute. And the story is that the great god-like person, the Dagda, had a magic harp, and it was probably made out of oak. And it would leap off the wall and play only for him, and then put the seasons in order. So I think that that's kind of where that came from. And one of the verses that stands out to me now is, "The four winds are my duty, from the north, east, south, and west. In the center lies my sovereignty, where the soul can take its rest." But it's a real playful song. You'll get the chorus, especially as we go along, and it just reminds me of a bunch of people sitting around the campfire, or in a tavern maybe, restaurant, singing this and kind of making up your own words as we go. So I'll sing it through, I think once today, and then I'll just start playing the chords to the verse, and maybe we can have 2 or 3 people come up here on this microphone. So those, so my compadre is ready at resistance. Come, oh, come, the two cries. Come, hand the fourfold mules. Come, summer, come, winter, voice of harp, bellows, and flute. Come, oh, come, the two cries. Come, hand the fourfold mules. Come, summer, come, winter, voice of harp, bellows, and flute. Sing it with me. Come, oh, come, the two cries. Hand the fourfold mules. Come, summer, come, winter, voice of harp, bellows, and flute. So let's hear a little bit of this story. Oh, the good God, great Dagda, high king of Danu, his mighty club that handle give back life to those he slew. With a feather in my right hand and a sword in the left, justice tempered with love stands in line before regret. Come on, come to rise and the fourfold moves. Come winter, voice of harp, bellows, and flute. Hey, come to rise, come and the fourfold mules. Come winter, voice
go.
Let's start over. 1, 2, 3.
I can let it go, you can let it go, we can let it go, all right. Yes. I can let it go, you can let it go, all right. Right. You can let it go, all right. Now let me start a little talk.
Okay.
I can let it go, you can let it go, sometimes. We can let it go, all right. We can let it go, all right. I can let it go, you can let it go. We can let it go, all right. We can let it go, all right.
Who else wants to come up here? Where's Ganga?
Well, we're on a world tour, traveling the world. We're bringing the seeds of loving kindness. We left Mother India in July of 2013. We left Mumbai, Chennai, and Tiruvannamalai. Now we're touring America. From San Diego to Seattle and back again. We welcome all of you and offer our love. We are awakening the seeds of loving kindness.
Do you have maybe one more? I know it's out there. There she is. Now we're doing it.
Coming here to unity, it always feels so good. I like hanging in the kitchen and fixing you some food. I like the smiling faces and the circle at the end. When I come to unity, I always find a friend.
Yay, everybody. Good job. Let's sing that chorus one more